Well, as a member of the Banking Committee, I tell you, I have seen Americans confronted with some of the most startling and concerning news our economy has seen in our lifetimes. Banks vanishing, homes lost, the stock market plummeting. But it didn't happen overnight. It didn't even happen over this weekend or in the past month. It happened over the past 8 years as Republicans systematically removed accountability from our financial markets and let bad loans turn into an economic catastrophe. Now, you know, a year and a half ago, March of '07, at a banking hearing where Secretary Paulson and others were, I said then we were going to have a tsunami of foreclosures. And the administration all poo-pooed it and said, oh, no, it's nothing anywhere near that. And we haven't even seen fully the crest of that tsunami. And yet, even as that tsunami was unfolding and Democrats were hitting the alarm button about what regulators should be doing, why we didn't have the Federal Reserve going ahead and using the powers that it has to pursue predatory lending, why, in fact, the Securities and Exchange Commission wasn't looking at the credit rating agencies, why, in fact, we didn't have a regulatory system that was acting as a cop on the beat instead of hitting the snooze button for the last 8 years. They still, even as this tsunami was unfolding, and we were told, no, it's only going to, when they saw it was larger and finally began to admit the nature of the crisis, they said, well, it won't affect only the housing market, it won't affect our broader markets, and now we have seen that unfold. And when they came before us on Fannie and Freddie, and I asked them, well, what's the possibility of an overtaking of Fannie and Freddie, and what would it mean in terms of taxpayer dollars, they also could not foresee that happening. So this is an administration and Republicans at the helm with every regulatory agency that has always been behind the curve, that has not been the cop on the beat, but has been absent from some of the greatest challenges our country has. And you know, I look at that, and even in the midst of that, as Democrats were pushing for the housing bill, we had to go through 6 filibusters and a series of presidential veto threats in order to achieve the housing bill that we should have achieved quite some time ago, to stem the tide of what is at the root cause of all of the challenges we're seeing on Wall Street. So let me just close by saying I have a real problem when I hear Senator McCain suddenly talking about greed and excess, and suggesting that, in fact, the fundamentals of our economy are strong. Well, you know, with honor comes honesty. And honesty means being upfront and the straight talk that he prides himself to have. Well, you know, when you voted time and time again to permit the greed and excess to take place, you can't now suddenly say you rail against the greed and excess that you actually created the environment for. And in terms of suggesting, we've got to come to a recognition that the fundamentals of the economy are not where they need to be. You can't look at 6.5% unemployment or 8% among Latinos in this country and say, well, the fundamentals of the economy are strong. You can't look at millions of Americans who are in foreclosure in the eye and tell them that the fundamentals of the economy are strong. You can't look at the greatest deficit and the greatest debt the nation has ever had and look at the average American and tell them the fundamentals of the economy are strong. And you can't look at people losing their home and fighting in the process of having us trying to pass the housing bill, which we want to see enforced as of October 1st when it goes into law, fully, to start stemming the hemorrhage. You can't look at us and say that, in fact, you think the fundamentals of the economy are strong when families are losing their home and you can't even remember how many homes you own. Maybe from your vantage point, the fundamentals of the economy are strong when you own 7 homes, but for people who are losing theirs, the fundamentals of the economy certainly aren't. And that's why we want to see robust regulatory processes take place. They should have already. We've been calling it for over a year and a half. We want to see the housing bill that Democrats pass and put into law robustly pursued as of October 1st, and we certainly want to see this stimulus package to get people back on their feet in this country.